वहै ओम शांति शांति शांति। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So today we begin a revision of chapter 6, and I think it'll be fun because just putting the thoughts together, it clarifies a lot of things that one misses when you have a long series of classes. So I'm really looking forward to it. So what we will do in the next few classes is do a revision of the 6th chapter, and also to do some meditation along with it. So perhaps we will do some study first and do meditation a little bit later on. It's interesting, I do meditation, I do meditation every day in the morning. It's very important for me. And what happens is I have a choice of either doing meditation and then studying, because I spend some time studying some of the other text or the other to keep myself. And so it's not definite whether I do meditation first and then do study, or sometimes I do study first and do meditation. And eventually what happens is, this is all relevant to what we're going to do today, what happens is that if my thoughts are about what I want to meditate on are strong, they are very visible in my mind, then I don't do any study, I just meditate. If they're less clear, then to pick up some ideas, then I do some study, and that gives me the meditation for it. So I do it both ways. And so this is very relevant to what we are going to do today. So let us start with this. And I don't get the time, but I would like to actually put these notes in the form of a class notes. It'll be very useful, I think, but it just takes a long time, and I'm short of time, and so anyway. All right. So, as you know, the 6th chapter is the last chapter in the first section of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita can be looked upon having different ways, and the most well-known sections of the Bhagavad Gita have to do with the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. So Mahavakya meaning that the equation between the individual and the total, because the equation is not clear, and in fact our mind protests. How can a small be equal to big? when in fact the equation of these two, which is paradoxical in the beginning, in fact is the answer. Is the answer. And in fact, this begins the definition of meditation. So, meditation is not a means of liberation. This should be the first thing we should know about. Meditation is not for moksha. Why? Why? How can you say that? Because we tend to view meditation as something very useful for me. It really, I feel good about it. So, and in fact, I feel that if I keep on becoming more skilled in meditation, it might lead me to moksha. And there are a lot of people who actually support this viewpoint, that if you keep on doing this for a long time and you become very skilled at it, then you may become so skilled that you will have liberation. And so the question is, why don't we think that liberation is possible with meditation? The reason is, this is an important thing, the reason is that moksha in Vedanta, in the entire Vedic thinking, the entire the teaching of the Shastra, moksha is not something that needs to be established. So I don't know whether you, I hope I can turn this thing on. Let us see, I want to write this one down. Oh, we did some in the past. So, I just, since I have this board, I will write a couple of things down. So, liberation means total freedom from all problems. That's what liberation means. So this is liberation, which in Sanskritam is called moksha. So here's the thing. Why the meditation is not for liberation? This should be clear for us. We say that the reason is moksha is not sadhya. Sadhya means to be achieved. You can say this is moksha is not sadhya, is to be achieved. This is an important thing to see. Then moksha is what is called siddha. Siddha means already achieved. And so, if it is already achieved, but I don't feel that, what are you talking about already achieved? This is not true. That means that moksha is not understood. It is not owned up. It is full of ignorance. So, you've seen this before, where there are two kinds of accomplishments, right? So, two kinds of again, I will resort to some Sanskrit words here. So, two kinds of accomplishments. So, one kind is not yet achieved. And so the Sanskrit for that is apraptasya praptihi. Right? So apraptasya praptihi means one which is a prapti, means an achievement of the one which is not yet achieved. And the typical example of this is going somewhere. Like, for example, supposing you want to go to San Francisco and you are in Milpitas, so you are not in San Francisco yet. You have to do some things and then you reach San Francisco. So in this kind of achievement, in this not yet achieved, the primary tool is karma, action. Meaning that you have to drive there, take a bus or BART or something. And the secondary in the means that it is supporting. Is jnanam, knowledge. Right? Which direction you have to go. You want to go to San Francisco, but you cannot go south from here. You have to go north from here. So this is what is called in the accomplishments of not yet accomplished. But there is another kind of accomplishment, which is an accomplishment of something which is already accomplished but not known. And so the second type of accomplishment is already accomplished but not known. So the Sanskrit for this is praptasya praptihi. Praptasya prapti. The other one was apraptasya praptihi. And this one is praptasya praptihi. So here the example is that you have keys in some pocket. Some pocket. But don't know it. And so for this, then, the primary means is what? Jnanam. And secondary is karma. So you think you don't have the keys, but once you understand that you have the keys, you haven't lost it somewhere, then I give you this example. This really happened to me. It's a very, very interesting example that I was giving I was on the phone, and somebody says, I want your credit card number that I was buying something. So I looked for my credit card and I couldn't find it. It was not in my wallet. And I said, oh my gosh, normally I always keep the credit card in the... And so I said to this person, I said, I'm sorry, I can't find we'll do this later on. And now my panic started that where did I leave my credit card? Where did I go today? Did I go here or there, and so on and so forth. And then I realized that I had it earlier on. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up the thing. I think what happened was that I couldn't find my credit card and I didn't know where it was. Then I realized that earlier in the day I had used the credit card for making a purchase. That's exactly what happened. I'm sorry, I mixed it up. All of a sudden, I was relieved that I have it somewhere in the house, I've not lost it. Then some karma was necessary, where is in the house? But I was relieved about it. And sure enough, it was a lot of papers on my desk, and inside of that was the credit card. So very minor karma. The main thing was the knowledge and the knowledge was all of a sudden the realization that I had not lost it outside the home. It was somewhere that I had used for giving in the number in the house itself. So the end result of this is moksha. Total freedom is that of the second type, not the first type. This should be clear. So, and why that is the case, we will prove someplace else, but let's go on for now. So anyway, the meditation is not for moksha. Why not? Because moksha is already an established fact. We are already free, but we don't realize it. So what needs is jnanam, knowledge. So the next question is, if that is the case, why cannot meditation give me jnanam? That's the next question. No. Meditation is not one of the ways to have knowledge. It cannot do that. Why? Because there are only 6 ways to gain knowledge. Okay, you already known that, but let me just, since I have the blackboard in front of me. This is so much fun. This is a toy. I might as well just start using it more and more. And so there are 6 ways of gaining knowledge. The most important one is called pratyaksha. So pratyaksha means direct understanding through your sense organs. So when you say, like for example, you can say, because the eyes are very reliable, you can say, did you see that person? He says, yes, I saw that person. He was there. And you say, how do you know? Don't ask me how do you know. I saw the person. So seeing or, touching or smelling or something, all the various pratyaksha, is a valid means of knowledge. Then the second one is anumana. So anumana means, and anumana has to follow pratyaksha. Anumana means one which is derived. So as we were seeing in the earlier class, whenever there is smoke, there is fire. You may not see the fire, but if you see smoke, then you know. So you see, this is the thing. You may not see the fire directly, so there is not pratyaksha. But you know that whenever there is a black smoke, there has to be fire. This is called anumana. Okay? I didn't realize that we're going into such details about other things. I was going to talk about meditation, but might as well do all this. Then the third one is called upamana. Upamana means a direct comparison. So here the example could be that you go to, in fact Swami Dayananji gave this example. He says, I was visiting some African country and I remember that, I forget the name of the animal. Somebody told him that there is an animal there that is the same size as a cow and looks very much willoughby. I think willoughby is the name of the animal. So when he went there, he saw a number of different animals. One of them would look like a cow. He says, this is it. So this is called upamana. Then the next one is arthapatti. So this one is more difficult, but it means multi-stage upamana. And here the typical example is that there is a person who claims that he is a very light eater. He doesn't eat much. And he shows also, he will go to a party and he will just take a little bit here and there and so on and so forth. And yet the person is increasing his weight. And he is very heavy and he's heavier than what last year. And you to talk to him during there, he says, no, I don't eat much, We can only suspect that at night time, when there is nobody around, a fellow feels so hungry that he devours some potato chips and all kinds of things with and so on and so forth. So this is called arthapatti. Means that you don't have a direct relationship, but chances are that it has to be true. You cannot gain weight without eating. Otherwise, you cannot do that. And here Swamiji gave another example. that when the pilot of a plane flies, it is from Arthapati, because you see exactly from your dials how much is going on, what is, and so on and so forth. He doesn't see any real things, but just from the dial you can tell that this must be true. It's called Arthapati. Then the fifth one is called Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi means absence. Absence means that you can tell, it's a knowledge that if there is a person that you don't see in the class, you know that person was not here. Even though the person is not there, but you know that the person was not there. This is called Anupalabdhi. Upalabdhi means to experience. Anupalabdhi means not experiencing that. This is number 5. Last one, which is the most important in our case, is called Shastram. And it also means Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana. Shastram. What does that mean? That means introduction by a valid, reliable source is called Shastram. What do you mean by that? How does that apply? It means that suppose there is a person, if let's say, let us imagine that there's a person that comes and sits down in the front seat. He comes down and sits down and so forth. And we have never seen that person before. You don't know who the person is. And even I don't know who the person is. Okay? So he sits down next to Sudha here. Okay? And he sits there and, we know the person. He's writing notes and so on and so forth, etc. All things are happening. Then at the end of the class, Sudha says, do you know who this person is? So he says, no. He is the mayor of Milpitas. So we said, what? The mayor of Milpitas is sitting in the Vedanta class? Yes. Unlikely, not going to happen, but I'm just giving you this example. Or it could be Kamala Harris, or some famous person that we do not recognize. And then somebody has to do an introduction. You know the very famous case that happened, not famous, but very from our perspective. So I think you've heard this example. So Swami Dayanandji was once traveling from New Delhi. No, he was traveling from South India somewhere from Chennai to New Delhi. And next to him was sitting a Western person. And so the two of them struck up a conversation. And Swamiji said, who are you? Where are you? He says, I'm from, this is a fact, this is a true story. And so he says, I'm from Australia. And by that time, several hours had passed by. They had exchanged some meals. They had some meals served and so on. And so the person said, I'm from Australia and I'm going to Rishikesh. So Swamiji says, oh, you're going to Rishikesh? Oh, wonderful. What are you going to do? He says, I'm going to meet a Swami that I heard a lot about. And so they kept talking. And Swamiji says, I am that person. I am that person. So that fellow was aghast. He says, oh my goodness, I was just going to meet you tomorrow. He says, yes, I'm going there tomorrow. So this is the question of what is called Shabda Pramanam. that you can be sitting next to a person and not realize who the person is. This is an important thing. Shabda Pramanam means an introduction in our case. So here, you know that very famous statement that if you meet Ishvara and your Guru both coming into the room at the same time, the person you should salute more is the Guru, not Ishvara. And the reason is that if it is not for Guru, you will not recognize Ishvara. So you thank the person saying, thank you so much, I didn't realize that. So the Shastra is the last valid means of knowledge. So in this list, meditation does not make this list. These are the only 6 things there are. Nobody says meditation, nididhyasanam is one of them. No, it is not there. If that is the case, then why do meditation? What is the reason for that? Okay. So, in fact, the Swami Paramarthananda had pointed out that first of all, meditation is not valid for moksha. We already saw that, number 1. Why? Because the moksha is not to be established, it is already established. Number 2, meditation is not prescribed as a means of knowledge. Why not? Because it doesn't make this list. This has been discussed by all the wise people for a long time. And they say there is no other valid reason for it. It is absolutely not possible. And meditation is not one of them. And then, is it possible for some extraordinary mystical experience? A mystical experience. And we say, if it is possible to give you mystical experience, but the mystical experience also is limited. It starts with something, ends with something, and it is not liberation, so it doesn't matter. Normally, meditation will not give you any mystical experience, but supposing somebody claims, yes, you can levitate and you can do all these kinds of things, fine, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. So then the question is, if that is the case, what is the real utility of meditation? So there we need to understand that it has 2 roles, 2 primary roles for giving me the benefit. One is the preparation of the mind for spiritual knowledge. So this is role number 1. So meditation, and I'm just going to use the word meditation now, and then I will switch over to nididhyasanam later on. Role 1 as preparation for the mind. The example is something like, if you are putting some seeds in for growing a plant, then really the only thing that you need is seed, because all the DNA of the plant is in the seed. But you may require preparing the ground for the seed to take place. You may need to till it, you may need to water it, etc. So those are okay. Fertilizing, watering, tilling may be necessary for the seed to grow. So they are secondary reasons for doing it, but not the primary reason. So the mind also, the main thing is to be prepared for knowledge. That only comes from instructions, as we will see in a minute, from Shabda Pramana. But to receive Shabda Pramana, instead of you're just talking about other things and not really listening at all, so on and so forth, so the meditation is a secondary pramana to prepare the mind for doing that. And when we do with the meditation today, that is the primary role we will see for meditation. Okay? Then comes the second role. And this one requires more explanation. And it is important to see what this role is. Okay. So in this one, we have to see how knowledge, Shabda Pramanam, is, how does it do the job? We have to see this. And how meditation cannot do that job. This we have to see. What happens is that myself, the Atma, which I am trying to understand, and for those of you that are taking the Tuesday night class, we are going into this fact head on. In the very first verse of the Dakshinamurti Stotram, it says that Atma Pratyak Swarupam. The self is never manifest. It always remains unmanifest. It is kind of like you cannot see yourself directly. Like if supposing you want to see your eye. You want to see your eye. Not feel it. You can feel it, but you cannot see your eye. You cannot see it. You cannot see it. Supposing you say, I cannot see it with my glasses, but I'm going to get a telescope. And I'm going to get a microscope that can see a lot of very fine things, and I'm going to see my eyes through that. No matter what kind of instruments you use, you cannot see that. The only thing you can use to see your eyes is to find a mirror. And the mirror also gives you a conditional view of your eyes. This is also important to see. This is what we're studying in the Dakshinamurti Stotram. That really speaking, that even the image of your eye in the mirror is conditioned by the condition of the mirror. It comes maybe close to it, but not direct. You cannot see yourself at all. So this is why the Shastra Pramana is the mirror to show you what you are. You cannot see yourself directly. No, not possible. The nature of yourself, you say, how it must be possible? Yes, science has progressed so much these days, I must be able to see myself somehow or the other. No, no, no. I don't care, science, telescope, microscope, whatever it is, and so on and so forth, whatever scope, it is beyond the scope. Because it is you. This is our problem. I only looking at my own, your own body mind is nothing but a reflection, as we will see this more and more clearly. So you can see that as a reflection, but never yourself as the Sakshi. But the Shabda Pramana can say, hey, do you know who you are? So this is why you need a Shastra and a teacher. So this is why it is given in the 4th chapter we saw in the Gita. He says, Tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. He says, please find somebody who is knowledgeable and follow that person and do some seva and have the right shraddha. Don't have this saying, hey, I want to tell you about myself. Because your mind will not be there. You have to be humble. You have to find the right person. All of that. So this is the reason. Then the person will explain to you. So this is what is called Shravanam. So Shravanam means a repeated, dedicated understanding of what the subtle Atma is over a long period of time. Not just 1 or 2 classes. You have to look at it from all standpoints. Then things become somewhat clear. Then comes the next problem. It's not done deal. It's not that easy to do. The next problem is you now have doubts to reconcile what the Shastra is telling you about yourself and what your experiences of everyday life is. There is a big gap. They're almost like opposite from each other. Shastra says, you are free, you are calm. I'm not free, I don't feel calm. My mind is going haywire. But then I do have Shraddha, so I don't dismiss the person altogether because I've tried everything else. Nothing else works. This looks like it's the real stuff. So I want to believe, but I can't believe because my experiences belie it. This is where the teaching also comes in. His teacher knows this is going to happen. That's happened to the teacher himself or herself. This is just the beginning. You have to slowly narrow the gap. This is what is called mananam. And so Swami Paramarthananda had given a very good example. He says, the benefit of food is not in eating it, but in digesting it. That's why they say that really after food, you have to rest, you have to walk a little bit, you have to rest, and you have to not overeat. So your mechanism of digestion should be such that, in fact, tomorrow's Ayurvedic, I don't know if you're going to come to that or not, but our teacher here, Jayarajan, is going to talk about Ayurveda, longevity of life by the proper digestive approach to eating. This is the very beautiful seminar tomorrow. I hope you can come to that. And so the whole Ayurvedic aspect is not just what you eat, but can you digest it? Similarly here also, you can go to some lectures. This is what happens. We all go to these discourses and it look very fine. Oh, you're the Atma, you're the... But how do I digest it? How do I chew on it? It requires my preparation, my readiness. And so this is the second issue after Shravanam is Mananam. You have to think about it and close the gap between your experiences and what the teacher is saying, what the Shastra is saying. And Swami Paramarthananda had said, if you do all of this well, you become a saint. In our anyway, I want to still have to finish all this in a minute. But so there is I'll just do this as a separate side one. It's called Santa. Santa Mahatma, saint, which is interesting that the word English word comes from the Sanskrit word Santa. So what is a Santa? How do you define a Santa? Well, Santa is defined as someone who is never hurt by anything external to that person. Any circumstances, people, situations that are incapable of hurting the person, that person is called Santa. And we can use this as a measuring stick, actually. Where am I in my life? How do I get hurt? How do I get upset? What upsets me? And through the mananam and shravanam, I need to develop the capacity and the truth of never being able to hurt by anything. And it's a very interesting example. In fact, I was going to talk about that in the first class in the morning, but it just became very complicated there, so I didn't bring that up. Swami Maheshananji gives this example. He says that suppose someone curses you, really is a bad words, uses, you stupid idiot, or something like this. And we obviously get hurt by that because, we expect that everybody would be very nice to me. How are you? This is the Vijayji, you're so nice. I like your lectures. I like to hear that. That's good. But if somebody walks up to me and says, Vijayji, you are a stupid idiot. Then the question is, how am I going to take that thing? I'll be very hurt. Especially if it is a very serious, if that is done in a casual way, then probably I'll dismiss it. But if it's done in a very serious way, somebody comes up to me and says, I want to tell you, you are just an absolute BS person. Then it'll hurt me. Swami Maheshananji gives this example. In Hindi he says, Koi tumko gali deta hai ke nahi? This is like a gali dena. Gali dena means you. What's the nice translation for gali dena? It's that's why I said curses you, but maybe cursing is not. Gali dena means that it calls you something really bad. So the question is, are you going to be hurt by that or not? A Santa will not be hurt by that. Why is it that the Santa will not be hurt by that? We have to just pause for a minute. We haven't even gone into the main meditation yet, but just look at it. So Meshananji says the reason that one should not be hurt by someone saying that is this. You are taking those words and you are now converting that into something very personal. That means, first of all, you have to understand the meaning of those words. Because supposing there is a 1-year-old who's walking around, barely walking around, is not able just being to stand up. The words are not known. If you tell that person you are a stupid idiot, what is that child going to do? Nothing. He'll smile at you, say, "Ah, wonderful, yes, good. Just give me some more candy, that's all I want." The words by themselves are incapable. What makes it capable for you is understanding the one and then having an opinion about yourself that I don't want to be a stupid idiot. There is a lot that has to be done with respect to that. So just saying something like this should not hurt you. You are the one who converted that into a hurt for yourself. Swami Meshanji gave a very beautiful example. He says, supposing I take a tape recorder and I say these words, "You are a stupid idiot." And as people are passing by on the window, I play the tape recorder. "You are a stupid idiot." Will it have any effect on anyone? Because they have not made the connection. Who are they talking about? Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, supposing I tell in the class, "John, please come here." So there is nobody in the called John in this class. So you'll say, "He's not talking to me. It's okay. I don't. John? No, he's not here." If I say, "You foolish person, please stand up," you'll say, "Is he talking about me?" No, I don't think so. Maybe he's talking about me. So you squirm a little bit. At least you squirm. You may not really stand up, but you will squirm. So this is the thing. We already have some doubts whether I'm foolish or not. And we try to say, no, I'm not foolish. I'm a very wise person. But if somebody calls me foolish, then it takes me to heart. So anyway, the second stage of the knowledge is mananam. Means closing the gap between what the Shastra says and what I think with a lot of thinking. And if that happens, then you become a saint. So the definition of a saint is, in fact, there are two definitions of a saint. One is one who is incapable of getting hurt by external situations. And the second one is you don't hurt anyone else as well. You don't find the saint making silly jokes about others and so on. I have a very close friend of mine that I've had for a number of years. And there was a time when my jokes were biting. And I would just, they were in the form of jokes. This is like, I'm talking about 20 years ago. So one day my wife took me aside. She did a great service to me. She says, I've been hearing your jokes to your friend. They have a little bite in them. And I don't know how that other person, he laughs about it and so on. I became aware of the fact that I might be hurting the other person. I don't think that I was hurting, my intent was not there, but maybe it was there in the form of a joke to just sort of criticize the other person. So I've improved on that. I'm much more careful that if I make some jokes, then it's not at the expense of someone. So the saint is one who has done Shravanam, who has done Mananam. Now comes the role for, the second role for meditation. So the second role for meditation is the fact that once I have done Shravanam, once I have done Mananam, I should be a saint by the very definition. I don't find myself as saintly. I am still hurt. I've closed the gap a lot, but I have not really gained, so listen to these words carefully, I have not gained the fruits of the knowledge yet. So this is what is called phalam. Phalam na labdhate, labdheya, labdhaha. I have not really gained the fruits. It is still in the working stage, and I'm feeling a lot better, but I don't feel truly free yet. I'm not a saint yet. Meditation is the second role of meditation. So what was the first role of meditation? Preparation. Preparation for what? For knowledge. Because the knowledge alone will make me free. Meditation is not going to free. So only the seed will really, I can only prepare. Then the seed has been planted. But it is still, the fruits have not come yet. So one can, in that example, this is just my own view of that. I didn't find that anywhere else. In that example, the second role of nididhyasanam, I've not used the word nididhyasanam yet. The second role of meditation, so meditation could be called dhyanam. Dhyanam. So there the first one would be dhyanam as an upasana, as a preparation. The second role is dhyanam as generating the fruits. It's almost like in that example that if the tree is not yet flowering, what else needs to be done to flower it? So in this role, in the second role, it is to remove the obstacles to the truth. It is not to reveal the truth, but to debug the truth, to remove the obstacles from the fruit. It's very possible, because I have some fruit trees and so on and so forth, and if they're not fruiting, then you go to a specialist and you say, what else do I need to do? You add more nitrogen, and some kind of a remedial things that has to be done. So meditation, the second role for that is called nididhyasana. And nididhyasanam means removing obstacles. Removing obstacles to what? Obstacles to owning myself. Removing old notions about myself. Because notions can persist for a while. They can persist for a while. But if they persist for a while, even though the background is now clear, they can sully it for me. They do not go easily. And so a lot of them are just habitual. And so to purposely remove the notions is the role of meditation, nididhyasana. So therefore, as we will see the advice given by Sri Krishna about meditation, you will see that it is not to generate new knowledge. That has already been done in the 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, 5th chapter. But in the 6th chapter, it is to clarify, to consolidate, and to remove wrong, old, persisting notions. So these are the two roles of meditation. It is not to generate moksha, it is not to generate knowledge, it is to, and in fact you can say, it is to obtain the fruits of study. This is what meditation is. And so therefore, the fruits of study means the study must have already been done. Really, the knowledge is only possible in the classroom. You cannot generate your ideas if you have not attended classroom. That's why in the Vedantic sense, meditation is a consolidation, not the origination. Shravanam and Mananam have to be done first, and then in order to clarify, to consolidate, to fructify, would be a good word, you need meditation. So because the old notions are that I'm a mortal, I am miserable, I'm useless, I'm small, and the knowledge is not true, not true, not true, not true. And I've done some some thinking about it, that it looks reasonable and something that I can really understand. It's not a pie in the sky. And yet, every time I act, the old notions comes to the front. And so therefore, in order to remove that, meditation is useful. That is really what it is meant for. So both in the first role, which is preparation, and the second role, which is removing obstacles so that I can gain the fruits of it, is the real value of meditation. So with that, I will end the discourse section of it. And one other, I think at the expense of maybe spending a couple of minutes more, this is also an important thing, and then we will do meditation, is the following. So in terms of, if you want to add to this, remember we had said that meditation cannot generate moksha. Meditation cannot generate knowledge, number 2. Number 3 was that it may generate some special powers, but they are useless anyway in the finals of things. Make you feel good for a while, but no. The 4th one is also important, and let's do that. The 4th one is meditation may convert knowledge into an experience. This is a very common misconception. It needs to be thought about. So might as well just include that also. So the first one was not for moksha, right? We saw that. The second one was for not for jnanam. Why not for jnanam? Because it is not one of the 6 well-established means of knowledge. The third one was not for special powers. And we don't, in Vedanta, we don't say no to that, because there are actually in yogas, there are meditation techniques that give you some powers, no doubt about it. What we do say is that those special powers are useless in the end. So you can levitate, so what? So you can levitate, you are still a limited person levitating. So what? After a while the levitation will go, and then you are back again to the same thing. So not. Then the last one, which we are now going to discuss, is not for converting knowledge, and I'm going to put the knowledge under special thing, knowledge into, and I'm going to use the word knowledge into Brahma experience. This is a very common misconception, very common, and a very important one that we will debunk later on. And we can only give you some introduction to the debunking now, but all of that has to be explained. So the common misconception is that this is all bookish knowledge. You know, your Atma is this, and this is all in the books, and so you don't have the experience. So look at this. Look at the meaning of this point. It has to be understood properly. So the feeling is that this is all bookish knowledge. You don't have the personal experience. And so in order to gain the personal experience, you need meditation. This is a normal thing. We say no. Why not no? Why no? Because my entire life is in the form of an experience. It is not as though I have no experience now and will have experience later. That's not the truth. Why not? Because the entire life, beginning with the baby, is nothing but an experience. There is an experience of Atma every minute. The question is, what kind of experience? It is not as though the absence of experience from knowledge, even knowing the books is also an experience. So this is not true to say that it is going to become a sort of an experience. In fact, what we say is that all the things we talked about earlier, which is that what is the source of knowledge, what is the source of removing doubts, what is the source of removing notions, those are the steps that one has to say. It's not as though all of a sudden by doing meditation, then some words that somebody had said will become now. That's not going to happen. You're fooling yourself. It just requires a lot of work. And so by doing this number 4, that means that it's a shortcut. You want to cut through everything else. I don't want to do all the mananam and, being nice to people and so on and so forth. I just want to simply just meditate and become experienced. I think I was telling you this, that there is a organization here, what's it called? There's a Western, it's called, I forget the name of it. Anyway, I forget the name of it. There was an organization here that does meditation or something, knowledge-based meditation. I forget the name of the organization. So a number of years back, I think I've told you this already, one of my friends told me that, they're looking for a teacher that gives them the traditional view of Vedanta, and I've given your name, kindly please see. So I made a mistake really, and I signed up for it, which took up so much of my time. I had to write down a paper and then go in front of the camera, rehearse, and then anyway I went to this seminar in Marin County for 3 days. I was only there for 1 day. And what I found was that they were not into understanding the Shastra. All they wanted to do was to meditate and just say, remove your thoughts, and then they use some right words. It's not as though thoughtless, that you are the Atma, you are everybody. Hey, what's that going to do? You may feel good for about half hour. It's not that easy. So this point here of converting knowledge into experience, somehow I read a couple of books from people, and now I am on my own doing meditation. No. You have to face the real world and to be able to analyze your how it works step by step. Only then it will become effective. So anyway, this is the 4th one that also is not the true meaning of meditation. So with that, we have very little time left, unfortunately, but let us promise we will do some elements of meditation. And the meditation that we will do is the first type. That may be a couple of classes, I think, will be just the first type. and then we will try to do the second type. I'm not clear that we have received the knowledge yet. It is still going to require more Shravanam and Mananam. But at least I think we are getting to some point, so we will do that. So this is just the meditation of the first type, which is preparing for the mind. And I think you pretty much know this anyway, and we've done this before. But just to complete the introduction, here it is at this point. So this this role of meditation, which is to prepare the mind, there are various means of doing this, but we follow the somewhat simple steps that have proven useful to our teachers, Swami Dayanand Ji and others. And we keep it relatively simple, and so those are the steps that we use. You can use more elaborate steps if you like. We have no issues with that, that's fine. But these simple steps may be enough for you to prepare the mind. So the first step is asanam. And asanam here means the right posture. And the right posture is sitting, neither lying down, nor standing, nor walking. And in sitting, the two extremes need to be avoided. One is being so relaxed that you are slouching, which will invite sleep. And the other one is being so rigid and unusual in your posture that it is uncomfortable. For example, if you're not used to sitting cross-legged, then meditation will not be good because you'll be worried about the pain in your legs and so on. So just sitting on a chair is good. So there the two extremes need to be avoided. Sit comfortably in a chair with your back relatively straight. So this is asana. Actually, one step before the asana that you should do is what is called sankalpa. Sankalpa means a promise to yourself, and really a promise to your own mind, where you consciously state, I am now going to be meditating, and the essence of this meditation is not to go over my roles in life, but the person who is acting in the roles. So this sankalpa is a signal to your mind that please don't waste any time during this meditation. You can do that later. But during this meditation, I just want to be who I am, not what I do, what roles I play, and so on. It's a meditation about the actor, not the roles. This is the sankalpa. Then the asana. Second or the third step is to focus on your sense organs. And according to our acharyas, our teachers, if you focus on the sense of touch, it is better. Why? Because that is the one sense organ which is prevalent throughout your body. So you focus on the touch of your feet on the ground, on the legs and hips sitting on the chair, your hands resting in your lap, the fingers clasping each other, and finally the subtlest of the touches, your two sets of eyelashes, the upper set of eyelashes and the lower set of eyelashes touching each other. In fact, disengage them ever so slightly, letting some light in, and then have them come together and touch each other. Do that a couple of times. The next step after this is to see the state of your body and to help it relax from top to bottom. If you find that there is some stored tension at any one part of the body, pause there, and with each outgoing breath, just help relax that part of the body. After having gone through the entire body, part by part, you can revisit it as a whole, just observing the entire body. Next and last, just observe your breath. Here, as you observe your breathing in and breathing out, your connection to Ishvara becomes very obvious. The oxygen and the air is provided by Ishvara. And the processing mechanism is also provided by Ishvara. Your lungs, the bellows, the ability to take in, circulate it, and leave the waste products outside. And it happens automatically, without any help from you. Observe the inner working of prana. So these are some of the simple steps that one utilizes. In order to quieten the mind down. You will notice that without forcing, by just going through these simple steps, your mind is already well engaged and quieter. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this constitutes the first role of dhyanam, and as such this is not nididhyasanam. So nididhyasanam is to follow the precepts of the teaching, and we have done this later on in this, earlier in the 6th chapter that we will do later on. kind of like following the script of the movie. So that has to be done. That is the nididhyasanam, which is the second part of the so-called meditation. So the word dhyanam is the generic name for meditation. You can say the preparation will be called upasana dhyanam, and the fructification is called nididhyasana dhyanam. You can use those words. So I think we might just quickly revise the upasana dhyanam next time, but spend more time beginning with nididhyasana. So we will do that. So let's do a quick prayer and then any questions that you may have about today's question. Om asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya jyotirma vidam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Any questions about the introduction to meditation? Yeah.
The moksha, is it a mental state then?
It is moksha is not really a mental state per se. In a way it is, but the way it would be called a mental state is the dismissal of the reality of things that are bothering you as being unreal. You alone are the unchanging reality, and the so-called experiences are no longer bothering you. So in that sense, it's a mental state. Because in the sense, so really speaking, the dismissal. So the example given is like this, supposing you are seeing something like a snake in a rope. Okay? So the seeing a snake in a rope is a mental state. So the question is, moksha here means that seeing the rope to be what it is, no longer a snake, it is a rope. So it's very possible that the feeling of looking at it as a snake might still persist. But once it is understood that it is a rope, then you dismiss it as being not a snake. You can even try to just say, you look like it is a snake and no longer there. So in that sense also here, that you're seeing unnecessary things about yourself, which is like seeing a snake to a rope, is a mental state. But moksha just means that you're no longer looking at things as real. You've seen the non-reality of it by some teaching and so on and so forth. So that's why I hesitate to say whether it's a mental state or not. In reality, it's not a mental state, but it just means the dismissal of things as being wrongly understood by you as being yourself. So that's how what the reason of the answer would be. Yeah. All right, with that, thank you so much. And